Good morning. My name is George Levine, and I'm a member of the Board of Trustees of Family Promise of Sarasota, the organization that invited you to breakfast this morning. I'd like to welcome you on behalf of the trustees and on behalf of the hundreds of volunteers for Family Promise of Sarasota that band together to take care of some of our neighbors who are at times a little less fortunate than we might be. I hope you're all enjoying the coffee and the breakfast and the juice. In a minute, I'm going to ask Reverend Wes Bixby, who I believe is at the table back there, to give us a blessing and the invocation. But I can't pass up the moment to tell you a short bit about Family Promise before we get underway. The volunteers for Family Promise want to help homeless children and their parents. That is our niche, children and their parents. Our purpose is to mobilize the resources of Sarasota County to help homeless families find housing and achieve lasting self-sufficiency. We do this by giving compassionate volunteers, such as yourselves, opportunities to help those families and by drawing on the community's financial, social, and political capital for that end. It's that simple. We've banded together through faith-based congregations, Christian, Jewish, and the Islamic mosque joined us recently, to help our neighbors who need homes. And we have many volunteers who are not members of those communities who help us serve that purpose. You don't have to be Christian, Jewish, or Muslim to participate. You only have to be a person of conscience, someone who can lend a hand and who wants to lend a hand. Except for 2 paid employees, we're all volunteers. We care for families that need homes at a lower cost than anyone else can do it because the food and shelter that we provide is donated by our members. And what we do works. You only have, a very high percentage of the families that we care for leave us within 90 days for independent living. Do you want to help? If you do, please come see me or one of the other members of the Board of Trustees after this meeting or at any time. We'd be happy to get you involved. We'd be happy to take your donations. We'd be happy to explain to you other ways that you can contribute to the efforts that we're trying to accomplish. And now could I ask Reverend Bixby to come up and give us a blessing.
Holy One, we give thanks for this gathering today, for each and every person here. We give thanks for the ministry of Family Promise. We ask for your blessing upon all of the families who have been served, who are being served, and who will be served. We pray that this ministry will continue to grow and share your love in this community. We especially give thanks as well for the countless volunteer hours, for the staff and the board. We pray for your wisdom and leadership to always be before us and with us. And for our gathering today, we pray that this would remind us of the importance of what we are called to, that we might work together to create a better Sarasota, a welcoming place where there is a home for every person, because there is a home under your love for every person. So bless us now. May this meal strengthen and sustain us as we go forth to share your love. Amen.
Good morning. My name is Jerica Wertenby. I am a current guest of Family Promise. I have 3 children, a soon-to-be husband. I want to thank Family Promise in general, especially Becky, as a person. It's really hard. I was going to write this. I'm coming at it natural. My family has gained so much stability out of Family Promise. We came here. We're originally from Georgia. We had to the point my husband, well, soon-to-be husband, was working. He really got injured on the job. We only had so much money. Our landlord would not help us. You know, money is money. He wouldn't help us any longer. We had a friend. We have family, of course, but family couldn't help us any longer. You know, they could only help us with so much. They either didn't have the room in their house or whatnot. The main thing is we had a friend that invited us here to Sarasota. He kept us in his household for 2, maybe 3 weeks, and we did a lot of research. We actually Googled homeless shelter for families, and we found Family Promise of Sarasota, and went through the intake. After we went through the intake, we were in immediately. I believe it was the same day. That was just a big relief right there. We didn't have any jobs at the time because we were new to the area. So we still had to gain the jobs. But with the stability of the housing, the shelter, the food, and all of that, my husband, soon-to-be husband, was able to get a job in which he is currently working right now. That's why he is not here. We have been able to just gain all the resources we needed to put our kids in childcare, school. My oldest is going to school. My other 2 are in daycare. And we actually came with what we thought was a very nice Cadillac DeVille. It had problems. We thought we had one little problem. It ended up being several problems. Becky was able to reach out to Sunset Chevrolet, and we were going on the intentions of just getting it fixed, getting the vehicle fixed, and which was our hope. It's always been part of our family. Ended up being way too much, so they were able to give us a minivan. And the minivan is the biggest blessing ever for my family. It just makes us, as I would want to say, more of a whole, complete, because that van can actually sit our children comfortably, so we can go from one place to another, but not just that. If in the future we need to go on road trips, sit comfortably. So if it was not for Becky, and yes, I do want to mention thank you if they were here, Sunset Chevrolet, for helping us as well. I do want to say, me and my fiance, we've been together for going on 10 years. And Becky came out one day and said, I think it would be really awesome if you guys would get married. And she actually is preparing for a graduation gift to have us get married. It's not going to be your big thing, but it's going to be something on the beach, something that we've always wanted. At heart, we are married, but we just never, our finances always went towards our responsibilities. And that's just something extra that we never actually put in our plans. So I'd like to thank Family Promise for that. But my main thing this morning is that we have hope. We have hope. We have a promise that we could find housing in due time. We have 3 months. It's a 3-month program, so that is plenty of time. If you get your job right away, you can save money. You don't have to pay for any of the shelter, any of the food. So you actually have time to save up for your own place. And which in the end, I'm sure, what I remember is Becky saying that they have resources for somebody to help you with the deposit as well. So it's just really, the more you want to put into it, the better, because you can save and be able to get into your own house. The housing is the main thing, as we all know, and it's very strange. This is our first time ever being in this situation, so I am kind of nervous standing up here, but who cares? We're all people, and I'll tell you what, Family Promise has just been the biggest blessing ever to me and my family, to have the stability is, hey, we have somewhere to sleep tonight. We have food on the table, and that's what we thank God for every day when we wake up. Thank you for living. Thank you for our food. Thank you for the roof over our head. And I want to thank you for giving us, Family Promise, thank you for giving us this opportunity to show who we are and how much we want to do as a family to be able to gain our stability as far as housing. And I just hope that everybody understands that without Family Promise, there would be, you think you see homeless people right now on the streets, there would be several homeless families sleeping on curbs, sleeping in the sand, in tents. You can't even imagine where people would, I don't know where me and my family would be, where we would be right now. Only God knows. We would never been able to get our jobs. We would never been able to go forth and see a light at the end of the tunnel, a future for us, and now we have that future. Thank you to Family Promise. So I'd like to thank you all for being here this morning and listening to me, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you.
The one thing actually Becky wanted me to talk about was how our religion kind of looks at the charity part. We do have to do certain things to be a Muslim. You have to pray, you have to fast, you have to do the pilgrimage once in your lifetime, you have to declare your faith, and you have to give charity. Other than the faith that we have, of course, we believe in God, we believe in all his messengers, from Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad, among others. We believe in all his books, the Torah, the Bible, and the Quran. We believe in afterlife and the day of judgment and his will, but we do have the practices that we have to do daily. So the charity part, which is called zakat, is usually 2.5% of your wealth that you've saved over a year. You didn't really use it, so you give 2.5% out to the needy. We have also another form of charity, which is called sadaqah, and that is a voluntary one that you give as much as you need out of your talent, your money, furniture, food. Even a smile is considered charity. So it was really a good opportunity to just jump in. It was just lovely. And a lot of the things that I saw when I was there, it was just like, Jerica said, it was just seeing these people with a roof over their head, food on the table, smiles on the faces of children. They were very happy that we were there. They were very kind, just loved that we were there. And it really warmed our hearts. It was no trouble at all. I mean, we have a lot of people that love to cook, and they just volunteered and bring the food. And it's just, it's a lot of little things that we see during the day when we're there. We're only there for, a few hours, but we see how they're safe, they're relaxed, and it's a good thing to see with people that are going through trouble like that. One incident actually that I wanted to share with you, I'm not going to take too much of your time, but one incident when I first went to the house, the Family Promise house, it was my first time there, and I was bringing food, and there was about 3 families with lots of kids, and I came to the door, knocked on the door, and all these kids came rushing out to come to help me carry the food to the house. One of the mothers came out with them, and this beautiful young girl with glasses came out, and she kind of looked at me and just kind of took a moment, and then she said, "You look like a pilgrim." And it really it took me by surprise, but for a moment I was like, this is really beautiful. I believe Jesus said in the Bible, out of the mouth of babes you'll get praise, or something like that. I hope I didn't mess it up. But it was, I felt praised. It was like, this child just sees me and like somebody, like the people that first came to, to this land, although nowadays some people might look at me as a foreigner, she just welcomed me, and it was just so beautiful. We played together, we laughed together. I played chess with her brother, and he was beating me actually at chess, and he was a lot younger. And luckily, the game ended because he had to go to bed. So it's really all these little things that make it, really worth your while. But it's big hearts, like everybody that's volunteering and everybody is helping that make it, happen. So thank you, and enjoy your breakfast.
All right, good morning, everybody. My name is Brittany Shears, and I'm a recent graduate of Family Promise. First of all, I want to thank you guys all for taking the time to consider helping this program that is absolutely amazing. I'll add a little bit to the story that Amani was just telling you. That was my children that she was talking about. Okay, thank you. To add to the story that Amani was just telling you, that was my children she was talking about. That was my daughter that welcomed her like pilgrims, because that's basically how she accepted everything that came from Family Promise, was brought in to that door with love. So everything that my kids, everything that my kids got from Family Promise was an absolute blessing. I didn't realize this was going to be so hard. There has been quite a few times that my family has been in a struggle over the past 10 years that my husband and I have been married. We have 3 kids who are just adorable, and they just soak up so much, and they have gotten so much love from so many people in Family Promise that I could not thank any of you guys enough. So over the course of 10 years, I've been with my husband since I was 16 years old. I just turned 29 this year. We started really young. We thought it was a mistake. It's been a struggle from the beginning. He's battled addiction after addiction after addiction, but we've always found ourselves back together. And this year, we finally had a breakthrough. Thank you. We finally had a breakthrough when our youngest child started school. He just turned 6 years old in February. He went to kindergarten this year. When I see every one of my children come home every day and, they need help with homework, I need to cook dinner, I need to get them washed and in bed and ready for the next day. And then I look after they go to sleep and so much chaos was around them, and I said, this is not fair. So I finally hit a breakthrough when I called Becky and I said, I need the strength to remove my kids from this chaos and give my husband the wisdom that he needs to build us a bigger foundation, because we were going nowhere fast. We had been on the same road for 10 years, and it just kept getting worse. Every time that he bounced back from one addiction, it just got worse with a different one. Becky and Family Promise gave us the hope that we needed. When my family first came into the program, it was just myself and my kids. I had found the courage to walk away from my husband because I knew I was doing what was right for the family. I had enabled him the entire 10 years that we had been together already, and I said, enough is enough. I have to build a life for my kids, so that's what I did. And Becky brought me into Family Promise, just me and my 3 kids, and it was really, really, really hard. I already had a job. I had a job since my first child was 3 years old, and I worked for Visiting Angels in Sarasota. I also told my job, this is what I have to do. I have to get my kids a better life. I want to raise humans that are going to be an active member of society, and the chaos and destruction that they were witnessing just wasn't going to get them there. So now I have so much strength in raising my kids so much better. My husband and I have completely started over. He went through Coastal and got help with Coastal. He got on a plan. He got himself on the right track. He has not missed a day of work since we brought him into Family Promise. So we just graduated in March, and he, as I said, he now has a different job. He's still working in the same line of work. He has not missed a day of work. We graduated in March, the day of our daughter's birthday, the day our daughter turned 10, March 9th, we got the keys to our house. We graduated almost a month early from Family Promise. So you have the three-month gap, and we were almost a month early. And I used to tell Becky all the time, I'm getting out of this program as quick as I can because I can't bear the thought that another family may be doing without while I'm still in here. And seeing all the hosts and all the volunteers coming into the house and just bringing, they did not care what was on the other side of that door. Amani let my son beat her at chess. I still think she let him do it. I think she let him do it. But Miss Betty Goldman, oh my gosh, this woman had 6 kids at the table before Christmas, making Christmas cookies with kids she didn't even know, but she treated them like they were hers. 2 or 3 days later, she brought in little goodie bags and gave to all the moms with the recipes for those cookies because the kids just loved doing it so much. I mean, I could stand here and go on and on and on and individually put out what each one of these volunteers have done for us. But I can tell you it will not be ever forgotten by the faces of any of our kids because we are so thankful for Family Promise and what you guys have done for us. Thank you for your time.
My name's Bobby Lovett. My wife and I went through Family Promise, I want to say about 3 years ago, and we came to Sarasota basically with nothing, what we had, and our little boy.
Can I sit to you?
Closer. Okay, no problem. Sorry about that. So we came to Sarasota with basically nothing, the clothes on our backs and our little boy, who was 5 years old at the time. And Dylan, you know, had no idea what was going on, and we tried to shield him from that. And, you know, we had worked all our lives. I'm a chef. I've been a chef for 23 years now. And, you know, things happen. I got laid off from my job up in Ocala, and the savings that you have and everything can just disappear like that. You know, within 3 months, I mean, we literally were broke. And we came to Sarasota to try and start over. Michelle had contacted Family Promise, and they said, come on. So we got here and had no idea what to expect. I mean, we were terrified. The first night was crazy, and we went and we were taken to this church, and they're like, okay, this is where you're going to be. And the people that we met were just amazing. Like she said, I mean, they treated Dylan like they were, you know, it was amazing. It was his birthday, you know, and I mean, all these people come with presents and everything. And it was just, I mean, I had never seen, you hear about so much bad in the world, but to see that type of people just caring, you know, and I mean, it was really amazing. So we worked through it. I found a job pretty quickly. Got on my feet. Michelle also got a job as a nurse. So she was working nights. I was working during the day, and we were just doing the best we could. And actually, one of the ladies owned a condominium and ended up renting us her condo for a much reduced price, which helped us greatly. And so we went on, and now, I mean, I see Family Promise and the families that go through there, and what this program does is absolutely amazing. And we're so lucky in Sarasota to have this. Michelle now basically runs an air conditioning company, and she's able to actually employ people now. I'm a chef out at TPC Prestantia, and just to look back and to see where we were then to where we are now is absolutely amazing. I mean, and none of this would have ever happened without Family Promise. I mean, we would not be where we are. My son's birthday is actually today. He turns 9. And I was looking at him this morning when he was sleeping, and I knew I was coming here, and I mean, literally had tears in my eyes. Just the treatment that we received from everybody involved with Family Promise, from every volunteer, has just made me, that's why I volunteer. That's why I come back and do what I can do. It's just something I really believe in, and I hope that we can continue to grow. So everybody get out your checkbooks. So thank you.
Good morning. As you can see, we've had a slight program alteration. We're waiting for Rabbi Warbo, but we're not going to wait because we have an amazing special guest with us, and I am so excited to be able to share him with you. A few months ago, I had this crazy idea. And for those of you who've sat in my office, this isn't that unusual. And I said, we need to do something big. We need to do something that's going to really put Family Promise on the map and show people what we do, because what we do is pretty amazing. Who should we get? What should we do? And I remembered a couple of years ago seeing a film at the Sarasota Film Festival. It's called Time Out of Mind. And and I remember a gentleman sitting right in the row ahead of me at the Opera House, and it was Ben Vereen. I thought, well, why not? Let's call. And his manager said, let's check the calendar. A couple hours later, she called back and said, you're on. So that brings us to today. And I am so, so pleased to introduce to you Mr. Ben Vereen.
Thank you. Thank you ever so. What is your son's name? Sir, what is your son's name? Dylan. Would everyone join me, please? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Dylan. Happy birthday to you. Thank you. I apologize, the rabbi is running late, so I'm going to cover for him. Hine matov umanachim shevarachim gom yachat. We're all in the room, as it should be. I don't know what I can say to you. Becky was very kind to say that by me being here, we'll put you on the map. No, you're already on the map. By the fact of what you're doing, you're on the map. I'm reminded of a story of this officer who was standing on the highway out here. And one day he looks up and he sees a truck full of penguins coming down the highway. He pulls the driver over. He says, "Excuse me, sir, aren't those penguins in that truck?" He said, "Yes, sir. They're my closest and dearest friends." He said, "Now, they are penguins, aren't they?" He said, "Yes, sir. They're my closest and dearest friends. You can't be driving around the highway here in Sarasota with penguins. You got to take them to the zoo." "Sir, but sir, take them to the zoo." So he drives off. So the next day, too, the officer's standing on the side of the road. He sees the same truck coming down the road with penguins. And they all got on sunshades. The officer's furious now. He runs over and he says, hey, aren't you the guy I told you with these penguins? Didn't I tell you to take them to the zoo? He said, yes, sir. I took them to the zoo, and they liked it so much, today we're going to the beach. You're the drivers of the truck. You're the drivers of the trucks. And you have gathered penguins along the way who needed help. You're to be encouraged, fortified, and held up. I'm speaking to the choir today, but I need the choir to go out into the community and make a joyful noise. Let the people know what you are doing here in Sarasota for your own people. You've heard the stories. You've heard the stories of the Most High. Only three stories of the Most High's witness to your divinity. Your divinity. Me, I'm from Brooklyn. You from Brooklyn? Brooklyn? Yeah, you see my hubcaps? All right, we'll talk later. My mother was a person who was like, I think she would have been a member of the Promises. My family came together by her gathering people. I remember there was one woman, her name was Virginia Batts, and I was 7 years old. We're walking through the Fulton Street Park, and there was this woman sitting on the park, pregnant. No, she had a baby. My mother sits down, and she has this conversation with her. And they talked for hours. Next thing I know, they're in my house. Next thing I know, I got a baby sister. I'm going, huh? And she raised this child, and she do this. But in those days, but this woman, Virginia Batts, of course, she was on there. You see, here's the thing. Here's the thing that we got to watch out for. The system is, as somebody said, rigged. It is. It has been rigged for a long time. Why? Because people take advantage of the system. And those people who are in need are not seen because of the fact that there are those in the middle taking advantage who do not need. But you're trying to get to them. That's why I love about Family Promises, is that you identify those who are in need and you focus on them and you draw them out like Scotty, beaming them up. Well, Virginia Batts had 14 kids. 14. It's a lot of kids. She was just like drop them here, drop them there. But in those days in the community, what they called the ghetto, you know, if a kid was around, they'd pick it up, I'll take care of this kid, I'll take this kid, I'll take this kid, I'll take this kid. And then one day, a thing came along called homelessness. Somebody said, these kids, these people who are in need of mental health, we can't afford to take care of them anymore. Put them in the streets. Put them in the streets. And all of a sudden, in my life, it may have happened before, I remember bums. Remember the word bums? Yeah, they later became homeless people. Now I'm dealing with another factor in my lifetime, homeless people. When my Creator tells me, I give you life, and I give you life more abundantly. I give you life to share with one another. I give you love unconditionally to share. To share. So we find other ways to share. You know, we give. But what I am so amazed by this morning is the group of God's gathering in the room. God, Allah, Buddha, Jesus, Elohim, Yahweh, the great divine, the higher power. You're here. Hello. There are many trails to the top of the mountain, but there's only one mountaintop. You're all walking a trail, but along the way, you heard the messenger say, help the least of mine, and you help yourself into glory. Help the least of mine. Because there, but by the grace of God, go you and I. We're sitting here today enjoying breakfast and going to our churches and our places of business, and that quick, our lives could change. You hear the young man said, 3 months, boom, it was wiped out. My whole life was changed. In Sacramento, I talk about it a lot. Sacramento people living in mansions. The next day, they were living in tents. It's happening in our lifetime. Our lifetime. When I got the call from Richard Gere to do Time Out of Mind, I said, I'll go. He says, you're going to play a homeless person. I said, I'll go. Because, it's one thing to be a celebrity, but I'm the type of celebrity, we do charities and things like that, but it's another thing to get into the skin of that person. And when I investigated, because I said I go around, the shelters, you give to the shelter, and you give you what you can, and you help, so give them a meal, or you chump change, you get to give it, that sort of thing. But how do you, it's like somebody says, okay, you take a person and you give them change, why don't you take them to the water, teach them how to fish, and they'll eat their lifetime? How can I do that? So as I was preparing for this role, now I've been on the other side, the giver, giving. I hadn't been on the other side. Now I'm dressed. When I do a character, I become the character. Yeah, I can't be separate from that which I am expressing. And I do a little prayer, and I ask the great divine to move myself out of the way of self so that the greater self can express itself. I was actually living on the streets in Brooklyn, in Manhattan. Friends of mine would walk right by me. I remember walking up to a friend of mine, piano player, Billy Stritch, and I was walking up behind him, and he was talking to somebody and said, there's this homeless guy coming at you. And I saw Billy's back go like this. And I just walked up and I said, excuse me, man. He said, yeah, what can I help you? And he looked at me and said, Ben? But in real, that could have been, Ben, what happened? But I was playing a role. We later went down to Union Square, where Richard and I would panhandle. Now we're in the streets. Now here's Richard Gere, Ben Vereen, in your face, panhandling. You got a nickel, a dime, something for me? I'm a little hungry. Just give me a little change. Can you spare a little change? You got a car, wash your windows, whatever you want to do. Anything you want to do. They would ignore us. This is Richard Gere, pretty boy. And Ben Vereen, prettier boy. In your face. And some were very gracious. Some would give us, that day, Richard raised $1.25. I raised $5. Because I was in there, I was aggressive. Come on, man, my credit card maxed out. Come on, help me out, man. He named my Tova, my name. What do you want? Some people would look at me and say, I have nothing, but would you take my sandwich? With tears in their eyes. I wish I could do more for you. That's enough. Just by you stopping and having this conversation means a lot to me. And they were gracious. They were, thank you, that you would stop. But our society is built upon the fact that those who we don't want to see it. Richard puts it this way, they feel like homeless people are a black hole, and if you get too close, they'll be sucked into it. But let me tell you something, we're all walking around, tiptoeing around a black hole in this society. We all could be sucked into the black hole in a minute. So what can we do about it? What you're doing right now. What can we do about it? What I want to encourage you to do as you go back to your communities. To talk about it and do something about it by putting safety nets. I want you to talk to the corporates. Say, what are you going to do about your people for your company tomorrow? I know a group of people who would love to work for you. All you got to do is train them and give them a hand up. They're the same one to buy your Coca-Colas. They buy your McDonald's. Give them a hand up. Help us, help them, help you. And by doing that, we help America. Simple as that. Simple as that. I was telling them the story last night, how we look at homeless people and how that whole mentality comes down. It goes along with the story of the prodigal. You know the story of the prodigal? The prodigal son? I'm the only person who knows the prodigal son. There's this story in the Bible about this father who had two sons. One son worked very diligently in the fields. The other was a bit of a dreamer and wanted, his ego said, I deserve my inheritance right now. And the father said, well, look, son, you'll get it in time. I want it now. So the father says, okay, so he gives him his inheritance. You know the story, right? And the child, not saying that all homeless people are like this, but this does happen, especially those of us who've been on that line called addiction. Hello? Am I the only one been through that? How many people have been through the 60s? You notice that laugh was well, those of us who've been through that period of our lives, he got hung up in addictions. He got hung up in the wildness of life he felt was the wildness of life. He drank and he drugged and he partied and he woke up one morning and he was eating from the pig trough. Money all gone, life all gone, jobs all gone, couldn't get anything. He's in the pig trough, eating. And he comes to himself. That's the word I love. He comes to himself. Sometimes we got to do that. That's the bravery of these families. That one day you came to yourself and said, my father's house, there are many mansions. I'm going to go to my father's house. Maybe I can't work in the house anymore because I squandered my inheritance. Maybe he'll give me a job working in the fields. I can work with the animals. I just got to go. And nobody thinks about the fact of what this young man was thinking as he was walking up the courage to come home. You've given it all away. You squandered it all away. Or society is taking it all away. And the courage to get up and say, I'm going on anyway. I'm going to walk home. Because in my father's house are many mansions. Maybe I can work in the pig troughs there, but at least I'll be home. At least I'll be near my loved ones. He's walking up the road. He's thinking these things. Oh, how am I going to be received? God, I know they're going to be mad at me. I was wrong. I humbled myself. God, I hope they forgive me. But you got to understand something. If you know the story, the father hears that the son is coming. He says, kill the fattest calf. Bring me my golden robe and my ring. He runs down the road to his son. He didn't walk. He didn't stand at the door. He ran down the road to meet the son, threw the robe on him, put the ring on his finger, and he said, he who was lost is now found. Come home, my dearest one. Welcome home. The father didn't say, where you been? What you been doing? See, I told you not to do that. That's what the family promises are like. Huh? They don't say to these families, well, you see, had you not done this, had you not gotten the drugs, had you not pissed off your boss, had you not done so and so, you wouldn't be in the situation you are. No, they say, he who was lost, welcome home. Kill the fattest calf. Volunteers, come in here now. We got work to do. Clean them up. Make them, get them all polished up. Feed the children. Help them with their lessons. Make them feel comfortable about being in a home again, and let them know that they are loved. They are loved. Something that we all need every now and then is to know that we are loved. Forget it sometimes. Or we take it for granted. Oh, I'm going to be loved all the time. Oh, I got somebody in that at 1600 that place up there in Washington. I'm being nice. They said they're going to take care of me all the time. I ain't got nothing to worry about. They're too busy taking about themselves. But there's this group of people here in Sarasota called the Family Promises, who ask for nothing but your support. We'll do the work. We'll get in the trenches. We'll find the people. We'll love them back to society, love them back to sanity, love them back to themselves, love them back to the divine beings that they are. Just give us your support. Give us your support. You know, I had a theory. I was in San Francisco, and there had been a killing up there. And these kids were killed by these gangs. And I had just come from Shreveport, Louisiana, where we marched to do down with the drugs in the community there with Dick Gregory. So I was feeling all of my activism. So I get to San Francisco. I said, well, let's have a meeting with the gangs and the churches. I got the churches together. The gangs were easy to get together, but you know the churches were hard to get together. That's why this room was a miracle. My God's better than your God. My God's better than yours. It was harder to get the churches to agree than it was to get the gangs to agree. But finally, they did agree. And I said something to them. I said, you know, each week you come to church, and it says in your Bible or your Torah or your Quran to give a certain percentage of your time or your monies to the church. Huh? 10%, I believe, in my church, was give 10% of your earnings to the church. I said, okay. Now, I heard a story about this priest, this reverend, and this rabbi, that they were asked, how do you give your 10% to God? And the priest said, well, we put them on a basket, people give their 10%, we use the 10% for the community. That's lovely. Another one said, how do you do it? He said, well, the reverend says, well, we get the 10%, and we use the 10% to take young people on church. I said, yeah, that's lovely. He turned to the rabbi and said, how do you get your 10%, give your 10% to God? He said, well, what I do is I draw a huge circle in the middle of the room. I take the money that people give for 10% to God, and I throw it up in the air. Whatever God wants, he'll keep. You'll think about that for a minute. But what I'm getting at is this. If we could get all of you churches to put aside a percentage, an extra basket, each Sunday that goes to the promises. at your congregation, just starting there before you go out into the community. Start it at home. Charity begins at home. If we can get just the churches to do something a little more, because you're already doing something. But here's the other part, that dollar which we need in order to build a new building. We need another house. You notice the homeless number, yes. Agreed? 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 Understand something. There, but by the grace of God, may go you or I, and I may need that house one day. And if it's in place here in Sarasota, I'm on my way. If we can get the communities to put this little money aside, it ain't going to cost you that much. It's not, 10% ain't a lot. Just a little tied towards, the family promises. This is their basket. Each church in the area gave just 10%. We build a mansion to house many homeless people. Many homeless people. I hate the word homeless, many of God's people. Many of love's people, many of Allah's people, many of the divine one's children. We are all expressions of the one that created us. And the charge was, take care of my garden. Take care of my garden. Ye are the garden. And if one suffers, we all suffer. How can I go home tonight and have a good old juicy steak knowing that my neighbor has none? I mean, those who eat meat. But it's the idea of sharing, of giving. And check this out. I love this part. When you give, when you change the consciousness of another person, the blessings come back to you doubled. Who wouldn't want that? Double. You give one, the universe gives you 10. Who wouldn't want that? That's why I'm a spiritual enforcer. We need more spiritual enforcers, and that's who you are. You're enforcing love through what you do. You're enforcing love. So I encourage you to continue and to be able to look at a family and say, why should you feel discouraged? Why should the shadows fall? Why should your heart feel lonely as you long for heaven and home? When Jesus, Allah, Buddha is your comfort, a constant friend is the divine. God's eyes are on the sparrow. Oh, man, think about it. Think about it. The sparrow, a little bitty sparrow. And I know that same God is watching over me. We got work to do ahead of us, people. It's not all about a song and a dance. Now, more than ever, what legacy are you going to leave behind for the planet? What family is going to look up one day and call your name as the reason why their legacy is going on? Who is willing to go? Who is willing to stand in the face of the storm? Who will go? I remember one time a little guy named David said, I'll go. I'll go. Yeah, man, there's a big old giant out there. He's going to kick your butt. Look at you, frail and all. I'll go. I don't know what awaits me, but I'll go today. And I anoint you all Davids. Huh? Will you be a David for me today? Let me see your hands. Let me see your hands. Let me see your hands. Now I want you to take those same hands, put them in your pocket, write a check. As I said, I'm preaching to the choir. But my want is for you to leave here today, this breakfast this morning, and be grateful and thankful for the breakfast, but to come up with some creative idea of how we're going to build this extra house for the families, or as many as we need until this is over. It's only over when we say it's over, and we're never going to say it's over. We dream the impossible dream. We'll fight the unbeatable foe. We will bear with unbearable sorrow. We'll run where the brave dare not go, to right this unrightable wrong. We will love pure and chaste from afar. We will try when our arms are too weary to help them reach their unreachable star. For this is our quest, to follow that star, no matter how hopeless, no matter how far. Are you willing to fight without question or pause? Are you willing to march into hell for this heavenly cause? And I know if you'll only be true to this glorious quest, our hearts will lie peaceful and calm when we come to our rest. Now the world is better for this, that one community. You may be scorned and covered with scars. You still strove with your last ounce of courage to reach the unreachable star. That's you. Thank you, Promises. Thank you for what you're doing. Carry on. I'll meet you there on the top of the mountaintop.
That's a hard act to follow, isn't it? I'm actually going to ask Rabbi Werbo to just give a quick description of what it takes from a congregation perspective. And then I'm going to ask you to do something very important. And, well, yes, part of it is writing a check to fill that envelope. Part of it is a little more than that. But we're going to ask Rabbi Werbo first.
It's really been a blessing to be able to come into a community and to be part of a congregation that's so involved in an organization like Family Promise. because it is more than, as Becky said, writing a check. It's digging in. It's getting your hands dirty. It's being involved, and it's touching the lives very physically of individuals. It's one thing to do it even passing by on the street for a brief moment as you reach into your pocket and give something. But it's something else to sit and dine with a family, to spend a night helping somebody have a place to stay. There's two words in Judaism that are connected. The root of the word is tzadik daled kuf, which means either tzedakah or tzadik. And a tzadik is an individual, as a person, and tzedakah is something that they do. We often translate it as charity, but it's not charity. Right? It's righteous giving. It's making the world the way it's supposed to look. We often think of that tithe, that 10%, not as money that we own, that we have control over it, right? It's money that's been loaned to us. And we have to do tzedakah. We have to do righteousness with it. And the individuals who do that are called tzaddikim, are righteous individuals, righteous people. And we know that for Family Promise to work, it takes many, many, many righteous individuals to spend a week with a family and to support them. But we also know that the people that we're supporting are tzaddikim as well, that they're righteous too. And that they just need a little bit of help, a little bit of community, a little bit of compassion, a little bit of tzedakah, a little bit of righteousness in their lives to be able to turn things around. Rambam, Maimonides, talks about 8 levels of giving, of tzedakah, and the highest level is helping a person provide for themselves, helping a person get to that point where they no longer need help. There's the giving and the giving and the giving, and then there's giving somebody a job, giving somebody a home, giving somebody really what they need to get out of this cycle of needing. And that's what Family Promise does, and that's what the tzaddikim, the righteous individuals who are involved in it, do. And so we pray, as we have in Psalms, in Psalm 92, Tzadik katamar yifrach ke'erez bavanon yizkeh, that the righteous bloom like a date palm, that they thrive like a cedar in Lebanon. May the tzaddikim, the righteous individuals involved in Family Promise, continue to thrive. Amen.
Thank you so much, not only for coming today, but for caring. Like the back of the program says, by the time a family reaches us, they've lost more than a place to live. Many of them have lost family connections, they've lost friend connections, they've lost their anchors. They may come to us locally, they may come from another state. I don't know that any of us know what it feels like to open that door to our office for the first time and say, this is all I have. I've hit the bottom. Will you help us? Every time that happens, I am amazed at the courage and the will to survive that family has. Just think about that. You have lost everything. Your kids are looking at you and saying, where are we going to stay tonight? Are we in a motel tonight? Are we sleeping in our car tonight? Are we sleeping in a tent tonight? Are we sleeping on the street corner? No, you're not. You're sleeping at a house, at a church, and volunteers are going to feed you. They're going to love you, and they're going to help you rebuild your life, rebuild your connections to the community, restore hope. And that is really what we do. It is not just putting food on the table. It's not just putting a roof over their heads. It is saying to them, we believe you are worthy. We believe in you. We love you. In your programs, you have 2 slips of paper and an envelope. The first slip of paper is to write a word of encouragement to our families. Many of you are already involved. Many of you see our families regularly, and you tell them that they are loved, that you believe in them, and congratulations on that new job. Congratulations on picking up that phone and calling your mom or dad. That's one of the hardest calls you'll ever make. We believe in you. This is your opportunity to write something to our families, and I will share that with the families. The other slip in the envelope are to make sure that we can reach as many families as possible here in Sarasota. We say we're solving homelessness one family at a time, and that is the only way you do it. But wouldn't it be great if we could do families a little bit faster and maybe have a few more families that we could help, because they're out there. They need us. They need you. Please look into your hearts and help us help these families. Thank you.